What is the difference between an Australian native plant, an indigenous plant and an endemic plant? Well, it's a little bit of geography and it helps you choose the most suitable species for your garden. An Australian native plant can come from anywhere in the country, from southwest WA through to far north Queensland and Tasmania, vastly different conditions. If it's an indigenous plant, then it is most likely suited to your area because it's indigenous to that place. I've put out the front a hedge of the tree violet. It's indigenous here, but it's also quite widely occurring across the east coast of Australia. Then there are the plants that are endemic, which means they occur in one place and nowhere else. Tassie is full of endemic species, plants like this celery top pine that occur in Tassie, nowhere else in the country, and in fact, nowhere else in the world. But endemic, indigenous or Australian native, they're all Aussies.
When we're gardening, we often throw around words and you might be left wondering what they mean. For example, when we're propagating, we often use rooting hormone. Now, what is it? Well, it's either a gel or a powder like this one. And it contains a substance which is a synthetic form of a naturally occurring plant hormone called auxin. And what it does is it encourages certain types of cells in the stem tissue or the nodes along the stem to become roots and therefore increases the strike rate of cuttings. The other funny term is dibber. Can also be called dibble or dibbler, even more confusing. What it is a stick that's used to poke holes in potting mix for putting in cuttings. And it's very important because putting a hole in first reduces the chance of damaging the stems of these tender cuttings and brushing off that rooting hormone. I like to use a pencil for my dibbler. I've always got one on hand and they're very handy for writing plant labels.
The common nasturtium is really rampant. It self-seeds readily. It can actually become a bit weedy. So if you've got it growing in your garden, keep it contained. You can eat the small leaves, they're not too peppery. You can eat the flowers. You can even pickle the seeds. But I prefer to grow the dwarf forms, like Alaska with its beautiful marbled green and cream leaves, or Flame with the beautiful dark bluish purple leaves. These are gorgeous. You can eat the leaves, they're not too hot, they're a lovely size, the flowers are edible, and they're fabulous for adding summer colour to your garden.